What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So yesterday was a day, wasn't it? We had the PlayStation 5 Games Showcase event that took place. We found out about some games that are coming out alongside of the PlayStation 5, some to look forward to, release date, pricing, when we can pre-order. Then the pre-orders randomly went live, and then they all sold out. It was chaos yesterday. We're gonna go over what was in that showcase, and I guess what happened afterwards, because there was still confusion between Sony and consumers. It was a strange day to say the least. Also, we have to talk about Nintendo, as in just a few hours, we will have their own partner showcase and what we can maybe look forward to there. A few predictions, should be pretty fun. And I wanted to also go over that Nintendo briefing, the management briefing that was talked about before for September, because it did happen, and there was one piece of information in there that really got people back thinking about some sort of revision that might leverage things like 4K once again. As always, guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton. And if brand new here, hit that red subscribe button down below. And we're gonna start today with some new additions to the Nintendo and the Super Nintendo Switch online application, of course, where Nintendo will now just randomly add new games. It used to be on schedule once a month. They said, nah, just whenever we feel like it. Well, they decided, hey, let's throw some more games on there. You can see some of the games here that they did put out a trailer for, and you know what? Donkey Kong Country 2, fantastic game. Outstanding. That is one to play as soon as it goes live. These games will all be added on the 23rd, so next week, that'd be Wednesday. You should be able to check those out. Then we have Mario's Super Picross. I've never been in the Picross before, but people seem very excited for it online, so good to see that. And then the Peacekeepers, another one I have not tried, and then Scat. Scat will be for the NES. The other three are on the Super Nintendo, and one of these, at least, I will say, you have to check out is Donkey Kong Country 2. It is a very, very good 2D platformer. In fact, out of the trio of Donkey Kong games on the Super Nintendo, that is the one that I played the most, and I have the most memories of, I would say, when I was younger playing it. But good addition there, fantastic addition, and it's definitely worth checking out next week. Also, we had touched on very, very briefly about PlayStation 5 pre-orders selling out, and wouldn't you know it, they're already being marked up heavily on eBay. I mean, that shouldn't shock anyone, right? It seems like people got the pre-order, and then they immediately opened a new tab and listed it on eBay. I mean, they were up quick. There are several listings. You can see some here where you're looking at like 800, 900, 1,000. Saw a few for 1,200 and 1,300. And this is just now on like the first day that they have been available. Think about as we get closer to holiday and they become more available to like actually have in person rather than just a piece of paper that may or may not actually guarantee it. Because keep in mind, these can still be canceled if you have the PlayStation 5 in your hand. Then there's well, they're not canceling that then. So it was really funny because I figured, oh, these are selling out. I wonder if they're already up on eBay. Yeah, and they were. It gets even crazier if you look at what Daniel Ahmed tweeted out here as all this stuff was breaking. You can see he says that PS5 pre-order situation is getting a bit messy. Sony didn't confirm a pre-order date in the showcase. That is correct. Was confirmed afterwards. Pre-orders would go live tomorrow by Sony. Retailers went live today anyway and are selling out of initial stock. No update on below. That is referring, of course, to that website where we could sign up and then Sony would tell us ahead of time when pre-orders would go live. Because you remember, they said we'd have plenty of notice. That we would not be caught off surprise at all. But we would not be caught by surprise at all with any of these pre-orders. And what happened? We're all surprised by pre-orders. It seems weird. It almost seems like they desperately wanted to go ahead of Microsoft to the point where they just started chaos. It was just craziness online yesterday. I'm hoping that Sony can get more in stock, get better numbers out there for allotment. That way it's not this, I mean, just it would be even worse during the holidays. If it's bad now, wait till people are scrambling around to get these things then. We also had quite a bit of communication issues with Sony and everyone who was pretty much watching this event. I mean, for example, there was this slide you can see here for Demon's Souls that mentioned that it was going to be going to other consoles and PC. But that's not correct, actually. Kotaku managed to get response from Sony, and this is what they said. Following the original publication of the story, Sony has told Kotaku that the trailer claiming Demon's Souls would be coming to PC and other consoles was a mistake, attributing the incorrect information to human error. When we tried to further confirm the game wasn't coming to PC, the rep replied, yes, it's just PS5. So there we are, Demon's Souls, which is also a launch title, by the way, is just on PlayStation 5, at least for now. I think they may have said this with Death Stranding as well, and that went to PC. I don't expect Sony to just say, oh yeah, it's also coming to PC, so don't worry about a PlayStation 5. No, they're gonna walk it back a little bit and say, no, just PS5. for now, maybe. I mean, Demon's Souls done by Blue Point and all this, I do think that one will stay with the PS5 for quite a while. How did that happen though with that slide? You mean human error? I don't understand. How did that even get through unless a lot of the stuff really started getting thrown together right at like the last minute? It's, again, feels all over the place, feels kind of rushed. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. We're starting right away with this PlayStation 5 event, the Games Showcase that happened yesterday. That was at 4 p.m. Eastern time. I streamed it. We had a lot of fun here checking it out. And let's go to the pricing immediately because we, of course, have a PlayStation blog, full write-up, tons of information. I'll also link it down below if you want to go through this for yourselves because there is quite a bit packed in here. But let's go over the pricing first. It's as we expected. The digital edition will indeed be $399, $400. And then we have the regular PlayStation 5 that will be able to accept a Blu-ray disc for physical media at $499, so $500 there. $100 price difference is more than I almost thought they would do because like I thought it would be $400 and $500, but part of me was like, I mean, $100 price difference for a disc drive, that seems like a lot, but Sony may even be taking a loss in that digital edition just to make sure that you will only be buying from them if you get the cheaper system, and it also allows them to launch with what was very successful for them with the PlayStation 4, a $400 system. Now, as for release date, you can see they put this slide out here that does also go over the different regions that will be available at the time, because they will have kind of a slightly staggered release here. November 12th, it'll be available for US, Japan, Canada, Mexico, Australia, New Zealand, South Korea, and then November 19th, so 1 week later, the rest of the world. Now, they did have a list of some of the new games that were announced here, including Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition that, according to Capcom, will also leverage ray tracing with the PlayStation 5 up to 4K 30 frames per second, or there is a mode with ray tracing that is 1080p 60 frames per second. It'll also incorporate the DualSense controller, which is pretty cool. There'll be new content as well as Virgil, who will be a playable character. Now, from there, it does look like they're also going to attempt to do 120 frames per second mode with the PlayStation 5. So I guess if you want to dive back into Devil May Cry 5, the Special Edition appears to be the way to do it on the PlayStation 5. Final Fantasy 16 was announced here. This was a big announcement. If you like Final Fantasy 14, the producer from that game is working on this one, and it looked kind of a little more violent than I even thought. There was heavy amounts of blood at times in it, and maybe they're going for more of a mature rating, or they're really skating that line. But I mean, I think for what we've seen so far with Final Fantasy 16, it looks good. Also coming to PC. That's a big get for Sony to have at their show as a console exclusive now. We also have Five Nights at Freddy's Security's Breach, Hogwarts Legacy, which is that Harry Potter game that we saw quite a while ago. That was a long time ago, wasn't it? Remember we had that off-screen footage of the Harry Potter game that appeared to be from maybe someone who was either testing or doing a focus group with it. You know what? For a Harry Potter game and the amount of money I would normally expect to see put into a Harry Potter game, this actually looks pretty good. It also appears to be coming to current gen platforms as well, the PS4 and the Xbox One. So any Xbox One S, X, any of that, as well as next gen platforms. But for a Harry Potter game and what I would expect it to look like, this was pretty good. The big reveal though for new titles that were announced here, obviously, a new God of War. God of War Ragnarok, that appears to be the title for it, and it's coming out 2021, which is a little surprising because let's say it comes out holiday 2021, that's 3.5 years to get this thing done. If it's like first half of 2021, that's 3 years. So this is a pretty quick turnaround, I would say, for the next God of War, but let's say it's going to be a direct continuation and they have, of course, assets and all this stuff kind of already made up and they can use them. Maybe that helped to cut down development time because the God of War that we had most recently in 2018 had a lot of issues early on for, like, I guess, direction and which way they were going to go with it. Now they seem pretty clear on how they would like to tell this story. And you know what? That is a massive announcement for 2021, because keep in mind, Horizon Forbidden West, maybe to start off the year, Ratchet & Clank thrown in there somewhere, and then you have God of War among some third parties. Final Fantasy 16, according to what Daniel Med was saying, even is something they want to get out in the next year or so. It's a pretty good first year so far for the PlayStation 5. Now, they did show quite a bit of gameplay here as well, like extended gameplay sessions, which included Marvel's Spider-Man, Miles Morales, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, and then we saw Demon's Souls quite a bit. And you know what? The thing with this stream, it was 1080-30. If you go back and watch some of the videos that they had put up afterwards, you can get the full 4K experience, and it looks significantly better. I encourage you to go back and do that. But Spider-Man, Miles Morales looked good. That apparently is also going to be a PlayStation 4 game. In fact, interestingly enough here, Sony seems to have done an about-face, a bit of a U-turn, and they're going to have a couple of games be cross-gen that we weren't originally sure of before. Spider-Man Miles Morales, Sackboy: A Big Adventure, and Horizon Forbidden West. That's right, Horizon is going to be launching on the PlayStation 4 alongside of the PlayStation 5. Now, I'll admit, that caught me off guard a bit, because it seemed like Sony was ready to just cut the generation, but maybe they started looking at it and thinking, you know what, we have a lot of people still buying PS4s, large install base, why would we just leave them behind immediately? And they're just kind of doing what Microsoft has been saying they're going to do as well. That surprised me. Really, I did not see this one coming from Sony, especially with, okay, Spider-Man, sure, why not? I mean, we had Spider-Man before on the PS4. There's obviously people are interested in it there, and okay, but Horizon? That's the one that surprised me the most, having Horizon Forbidden West also be on the PS4, but like I said, Sony sees that install size. Horizon Forbidden West could be out in the next 6 months, so to them, they're like, oh, we'll just sell more copies that way, and we'll work towards things like Final Fantasy 16 alongside Square, and then God of War for next gen, and they'll kick things off with Demon's Souls, of course. We also got pricing for some of the accessories, like the DualSense controller, which is about what I thought it would be at $70. The Pulse 3D wireless headset, that is at $100. The HD camera will be $60. They have that media remote that will be $30, and then the DualSense charging station will also be $30. And then to wrap things up, we have the full launch day games here. Astro's Playroom, that will be pre-installed on the PS5. Demon's Souls, which is $70, by the way. We're about to come back to that one to finish up. Destruction All-Stars at $70. Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales at $50. Then we have Spider-Man Miles Morales, the Ultimate Edition, that will have a remastered version of Spider-Man that we had on the PS4 at $70. And then Sackboy: A Big Adventure will be $60. And alongside of these games, we'll also have the PlayStation Plus Collection, which seems to be like their version of Game Pass, kinda. It's gonna be PS4 games that you can then download and play on your PS5. I guess ones that maybe they have also added some sort of enhancements to, or they'll just play just the same. Seems to just be a way to add extra, I guess, value to your PlayStation Plus subscription, as they haven't, I guess, gone too deep into that, just saying that it's there with PlayStation Plus, but they did show off quite a few games here with like Batman Arkham Knight, Bloodborne, Fallout 4, God of War, Monster Hunter World, Persona 5, and several more. It was just seemingly something extra for PlayStation Plus members. So, $70. It seems that Sony is the one who's going to be pushing that mark up. Remember, we were just talking about 2K and Take-Two talking about this. EA mentioned it, and people weren't too happy with it. Sony is going to be doing it, which means that, yeah, everyone's going to do it now. We're going up to $70 this gen coming up, right? I'm sure Microsoft will do it, but keep in mind, they also have Game Pass, which means that if all these games rise in price, you could see Game Pass rise in price as well if they decide to do that on Microsoft's side, but one of these companies is gonna have to do it. Someone was going to. Seems to be a platform holder, and it seems to be Sony, and maybe they're saying, hey, we're just gonna mark these up. They'll make them look more premium. We're a first-party company, so we're selling hardware alongside of it that people will pick up, and then they'll feel like, well, if I want Demon's Souls, it's $70, and that's just kind of the way it is, right? All in all, though, looking at this overall presentation, it was a bit confusing. They didn't have any release dates for some reason in the video itself. I have no idea what that was about. Like, we just talked about their launch lineup there. Why didn't they just tell us about the release date first thing, right away, and then save the price for the end? That way they could tell us about any dates for any of these games, right? Wouldn't it have been way more exciting if you saw Demon's Souls and it was like launch day? Like that, they could have even just said that. That would have been really exciting, right? Or Miles Morales, launch day. Okay, cool. So there's two big games I'm gonna look at. Instead, we had to go online. We had to look at the blog post and all of this, go on Twitter, see what people are saying to figure out that some of these games were launch titles and see that some of them are marked up to $70. It was just weird in terms of communication, but I think their pricing is correct for the systems. The launch day on the 12th, that is a Thursday, so that's right next to the Xbox Series X. That is going to be a crazy week. Like, it's gonna be a mad scramble all over the place for two different, fairly expensive systems all at once. 4 different SKUs launching in the same week, 2 days apart. It's gonna be something else. Next up, let's talk about the partner showcase that Nintendo will have in just a few hours. They tweeted this out here, and it was like 3:30 in the morning for me, so I didn't see it till the morning, but you can see it here. It says, tune in 9/17, that'd be 7 a.m. Pacific or 10 a.m. Eastern time for a live streamed Nintendo Direct Mini Partner Showcase, featuring information on upcoming Nintendo Switch titles exclusively from our publishing partners. Now, There are going to be a lot of guesses, predictions, all of this. This is a live stream one though. We're used to them just dropping them, announcing it ahead of time and then just dropping it online maybe, or just saying, hey, look at these games that are showing up. This seems maybe slightly more important than like the last one we had maybe, or maybe we need more WWE Battlegrounds here. That could do it, right? That could be the big one more thing at the end. Or maybe they want to tell us about Doom Eternal. That would be pretty cool. Maybe they want to tell us about Silk Song. Been waiting for that one. Or Apex Legends. That's supposed to be coming out this fall, I think, right? So maybe they want to have some really big announcement ahead of Tokyo Game Show. Maybe they want to do Monster Hunter. Or maybe we're all just getting our hopes up and it really is going to be just 20 minutes of Battlegrounds at this point. It's fun to see these pop up, but I still am not completely sold on the partner showcase as being this massive thing where we would get those games, any of those games really, to be honest. Although Doom Eternal would make a lot of sense out of all of the ones I just named to show here, and Apex Legends as well, since that's a free-to-play game, and they could just like say, hey, it's available now, right? But I think Doom Eternal is the one that needs it the most because that thing just disappeared. So it might be a good time to remind us of it. And like I said, bring it out closer to Halloween next month. That would be a good time for it. And then our last bit of news, let's talk about that management briefing from Nintendo that took place the other day. We had talked about this when it kind of popped up on their schedule and no one knew what this thing was. It was very strange, but of course, it was covered, and they even put out English slides later on to kind of go over some of this stuff. However, people were, of course, reporting in real time while these things were being presented and even talked about by the president himself, Furukawa. So let me go over here. You can see this tweet. This is from David Gibson, who does cover a lot of these different Nintendo investor briefings or management briefings, any of this stuff. And there was one piece that was pointed out that really got people talking because it says R&D investment. Previously used to look at conventional tech that enabled a lower price and appeal to users, but now doing cutting-edge technology. Look at how intuitive it is for users. Also, battery life is important given gameplay of 5 to 6 hours. Well, I mean, that makes sense. We got a revision that kicked us up to about that much, although the Switch Lite still kind of lags behind that. But we do have a Switch, the one in the red box, of course, the only one I guess you can buy now, that kicked up battery life around that amount. But to hear cutting-edge technology, I mean, the X1 was pretty old even when they used it. It was like a 2015 chip, and in 2017 they said, hey, let's drop it in and let's use this for our system going forward. The hybrid concept is still very new, so it's not surprising to hear that Nintendo might be thinking, well, it's working. Why don't we build on this a bit more? We see what NVIDIA is doing. They're making moves. They're acquiring ARM. They're bringing them in, which means that R&D will probably accelerate, and Nintendo's kind of in a good spot as long as NVIDIA continues to play nice with them because, well, we'll see how this whole thing with NVIDIA and ARM goes down in the first place. I still have my concerns with NVIDIA controlling ARM, and prices can go up if the market gets to that point. NVIDIA controls everything with that, so we'll see. But Nintendo could do things like they could pursue DLSS, as we said before, in a newly designed chip with NVIDIA, and that would give them a pretty good advantage when it comes to attaining higher resolutions without actually having to have the massive horsepower to get there. So that's the one thing I hope they're kind of talking about here, because DLSS 2.0, and I think they're even doing 3.0 soon, is fairly cutting edge when it comes to tech right now. So here's hoping, cross my fingers, that that's what they go for in one of these hybrid units. That would be absolutely crazy in something like a handheld. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from the Renalicious saying, I get the feeling this is what the Metroid Prime trilogy is probably going to be like. Emulations of the Metroid Prime 1, 2, and 3. If they didn't put in any effort into their main franchise, what hope is there for their other smaller franchises? The trilogy has probably been sitting on a server ready to go into production, not having received any more attention than what it got a few years ago when it was ready to ship. Regardless of how the games are presented, I've pre-ordered my physical copy of All-Stars and will be getting the Metroid Prime trilogy whenever it becomes available as well. Well, Metroid Prime trilogy is an interesting one because that was on the Wii, right? And got moved to the Wii U and all this, but the thing with the All-Stars collection, while I look at that and say, they didn't really spend a lot of time on what is their main mascot. Like, you figure you put some time into that, they figure it'll sell either way. So Nintendo was like, emulate him, it's fine. But they didn't emulate Galaxy in like the traditional sense, and that was a Wii game, so I almost wonder if Prime Trilogy would have to undergo a similar change or similar port, quote unquote. And Galaxy looks really good from what I'm seeing, and so I'm not gonna say that, oh yeah, Metroid Prime Trilogy is gonna look amazing because they'll put that kind of time into it, but I'm hopeful that it's at least just, 1080p, 60 frames. At that point, at least we can get Metroid Prime back in the spotlight because it needs it, especially heading into Metroid Prime 4. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. Enjoyed this video, guys? Hit the like button, it really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it is the PlayStation 5 Games Showcase. Let me know if you were able to get a pre-order for the PS5 because I saw a lot of people who were left out on that one and where you were able to get it. Hopefully that like GameStops and Best Buys in store will get more of them, right? Rather than just online, because shipping a PlayStation 5 is kind of a nerve-wracking experience right now is what I'll say. Also, what do you think about the partner showcase coming up? What do you think will be there? And R&D, kind of looking towards, for Nintendo anyway, cutting-edge technology. What do you think they're referring to there? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.